Robbie Crabtree, mate, it is an absolute pleasure to be speaking with you today. How are you, dude?
Doing great, Adrian. How are you, man?
Dude, I am pumped as usual, double pumped.
Yeah, I'm not quite that pumped.
Yours are
Uh,
bigger. Show us your guns.
no, we gotta keep those hidden. So we'll just they can get enough right here.
We can create a little bit of suspense, dude.
There we go.
Dude, when we first sat down, what was the problem you were having before you come on board?
I didn't know anything about LinkedIn. I mean, simply put, I didn't know anything. It was like a desert, a wasteland. I was absolutely lost, and so I didn't really use it. I didn't use it for years for that reason, just because it was overwhelming, it was scary, it was unknown. That was the problem. I didn't know what to do.
Dude, but what I want to share is that you actually had an audience over on Instagram and Twitter. Tell us about that.
Yeah, at the time, I think I had like 28,000 followers on Instagram. I had 17,000 followers on Twitter. So I know how to build an audience on different platforms, but LinkedIn was this different animal. And when I think I came on and started LinkedIn, I had 700 followers roughly around there and just had no idea. I would post something and it was just crickets, right? It would get one like and 100 views. And I was like, this is pointless. I'm not going to waste my time over here. So it was a strange animal just because I had so much success on these other platforms, but LinkedIn was, again, just this mythical beast that I was unable to conquer.
Robbie, tell us about the success that you had on the other platforms.
Yeah, so I mean, I knew how to grow audiences there, right? I went from 200 followers on Twitter to 17,000 followers in 15 months by figuring out the strategies that I needed to use there. Same thing on Instagram. I figured out what worked and was able to use those strategies. And I'm very comfortable on camera. I'm very comfortable writing. I mean, my whole role is communication. So I understand what that takes to connect to people. But the problem is on those platforms, to grow them took a ton of time. When I grew my Twitter, I had to grow it by spending way more hours a day on that than I would like, because you have to constantly be commenting on other people's posts, having conversations. Then you're getting on random Zooms with people to build relationships. And it just ends up eating so much of your time that it was exhausting. And the last thing I wanted to do was come onto LinkedIn and have to do the exact same thing. But what I saw was Instagram was really kind of dying down. In my opinion, there was no way to grow it organically anymore because Instagram had just kind of destroyed that platform over the years. And your other piece was on Twitter, it just got very noisy. When I first started, it was easy to kind of cut through the noise. There weren't a ton of people using it. But as it grew, as everyone in COVID and that kind of era got online, everybody in the tech world came onto Twitter. So it just became overwhelming with the number of threads and posts, and there was just no way to keep up. So I finally said, you know what, this is no longer the place that I want to live and put out content, because it just wasn't reaching the audience that I needed to. So it wasn't actually having the outcome for other people that I wanted it to. So I kind of left that behind.
Yeah, okay. And when it comes to like an ROI on Instagram and Twitter, tell us about that. As in from a financial perspective. Were you growing your business on the platforms or not really?
Instagram was pretty useless, in all honesty, because I work with people in the tech startup world. And the truth is they're not really living on Instagram. So even though I built a following, it wasn't the right following. It wasn't my ideal customer profile. And so it was actually a lot of wasted time and effort, because it really just became a vanity play. Whereas like I could keep growing that and get to 50,000 followers, but none of them, I think I worked with one person through Instagram and that was it. Whereas Twitter was decent in the early days. Like I said, when you could really cut through the noise, it still worked. Like that ROI was there. It's really what helped me kind of start my business, is what helped me go from 0 to 1, if you will. But it wasn't what was going to take me from 1 to scale. It wasn't where I was going to take that next leap in the evolution, because it just wasn't returning that ROI anymore. And it just felt like the only way to get the ROI on Twitter anymore was to become very salesy and just be like, oh, I've got this spot open, and just constantly hit people with this, I've got this spot open. I don't want to be that person. I want to be creating value, delivering useful information, and then having people come to me and say, Robbie, I really like what you have to say. I'm interested in how you can help me. I much more prefer that kind of inbound, that natural sales cadence where people are like, this guy's an expert. He's working hard. Like, I'm not out here just trying to sell on these platforms. Like, I'm out here to demonstrate that I know what I'm talking about and help more people, because the most of my day is spent actually working, actually dealing with clients, actually building a business, not on making it look like I'm building a business on social media. Like, I don't care to play that game. I care about actually building a business. And so that's where Twitter just became this platform that was no longer super useful for me from a business perspective. I still read it and follow people, but I don't really need to be a creator on that platform anymore. And definitely, I mean, on Instagram, I put videos out there just because I have videos. I might as well, because it's still just fun to create. I like to create and share knowledge, but from a business perspective, it doesn't do anything.
Dude, some absolute goals that you just mentioned there. And I think that'll be super useful for the viewer as well, if they're watching this. Dude, what would have prevented you from working together? Is there anything that would have stood in your way?
The biggest thing is just not believing you knew what you were doing. And that there's a lot of people on LinkedIn selling the grow your audience fast LinkedIn playbook, but it's very inauthentic. It's very harsh on a brand. Like, it doesn't build a brand in a long-term way. And so what I was looking for was somebody who understood how to build a brand long-term and was thinking about the way to do it that's probably slower, but in the long term is going to pay off much larger. And so the thing that would have prevented me is if I thought you were one of those guys who was like, hey, I'm just going to like send pods to go and like prop you up. Hey, like, we're just going to game the system. We're going to put like, we're going to find somebody with 500,000 followers to come and like comment on your post so it can be seen by a lot of people. And all of a sudden you have these vanity metrics, but then the people who are following me are going to be the wrong followers. Like, again, I wanted to build a brand around startups, founders, fundraising, storytelling. When you're that clear, you can't do one of these approaches where you're just being like, oh, like, I just want a big number of followers. Like, that doesn't do any good for me. So that was the biggest thing I was looking for, is does the person I'm talking to, in this case, it was you.
Yeah.
Do they understand how to build a long-term brand? Do they understand how to do it in an authentic way? And do they have they actually been able to do that themselves and seen results from using LinkedIn in that manner? Because I think one of the easiest things to look at is, can you actually walk the walk? And it doesn't mean you have to do the exact same thing. Like, we're in different industries. Yeah. Like, you haven't built in my industry, and that's fine. Just like when I work with startup founders, like, I'm bringing experience from the trial world and being a storyteller there to the startup world. So it's a little bit different, but the principles still work. And that's what I'm looking for, are the principles sound that you're building on top of?
Dude, that's super duper powerful. Mate, when it comes to obviously the ROI and the results that you've achieved, what are the results and what does the future look like for Mr. Robbie?
From a pure vanity metric perspective, I mean, we've grown from 700 followers to almost 10,000. I mean, we'll break 10,000 in the next seven days or so. And, I've gone from posts being seen by 200 people to regularly 20, 30,000. My best performing was 80,000. And it was a legitimate value-driven post. It was not a poll. It was not gamesmanship. It was a legitimate post that people wanted to read. And so what that leads to is just real credibility and real authority. And people are coming into me and saying, Robbie, you're keep doing this stuff because it means a ton. It inspires me. I'm using these tactics to be successful. So there's a bunch of people who come to me. They never work with me. There's no direct ROI, but there's an ROI in terms of goodwill and putting out good karma into the world because they're finding success. And my goal at the end of the day is to help more founders succeed. And what I'm finding is that is happening. Now, not only that, I mean, obviously it's helped the business significantly in that it is now just a continuous source of people coming in to talk to us, to potentially work with us. The most interesting piece is it's not necessarily the new person that comes in. Like, I think the new person is a longer time horizon for me, given what I do. They've got to see a lot of content. They've got to be in the right place. So for me, what's been more interesting is the people who already knew me, the people who already follow me, who kind of came from other networks, other places. LinkedIn has given them the trust and the confidence to work together because they're reading what I'm putting out there and they look at it and they go, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. You know, I'm going to go ahead and reach out. And I had one where I talked to this guy, 15 months ago before I really started LinkedIn. And we talked about working together and he just ended up passing at the time. Lo and behold, he started reading all my LinkedIn stuff when I got active there. And he came back and said, Robbie, your LinkedIn stuff is crushing. I need to talk to you. And we started working together. And so that's kind of the value to me is it's really put me in a place of demonstrating expertise, having thought leadership, being seen as an expert in this space. And then that opens up a whole bunch of different doors. And like where all those are going to go, I can't even say. But I mean, people are asking for books. People want me to speak. People want to work with me. So like, where do all these opportunities lead? There's really no telling.
Dude, I think something that we haven't really touched on yet, but I think is really, really important for people to hear is that, we were having definitely a different conversation towards the end of last year. And I remember like, dude, I've just moved into my new place and which is where you're at now. And but last year, do you want to just touch on the conversation that we were having towards the end of last year?
I mean, last year was tough because things were kind of in flux. It was a little bit chaotic. And, we were going in a place where it was like, we got to really like hustle and grind to keep revenue driving, to keep the business going. Now, I've always said this, I will either be massively successful or I'll end up on the street because there is no in between for me.
Yeah.
And so we would have made it work no matter what, but we were in a tough spot. There was no way around that. And, now at this point where we're running 100K months on a consistent basis and projecting even more growth ahead of time, where we're bringing on more people onto the team. We're able to support more people, give pay raises, invest in great companies, that I'm working with because we have free cash flow. So we're able to reinvest not only into our own business, but also into other businesses and other startups, get equity inside of those. So there's really been a change where it went from really a place of, a little bit of terror and some like kind of looking into the chasm, if you will, to a place of kind of real abundance, real safety, while still pushing, we never settle and we continue to grow, but finally feeling this like we're in good shape. Like we're fine. Like I know what my floor is now. Like I could do everything wrong and the floor for the business would still be 50K months. And to be at a point where you're like, hey, the floor is 50K months, it's pretty crazy considering where I was, not that long ago. As I was lost. I didn't know what platform to be on. I didn't know who to speak to. I didn't know what the messaging should be like. And so as a result, nobody knew who I was. Nobody knew what I could offer them. And it was just kind of like, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, did it really fall? And that's kind of what was going on. Once we dialed that in, the ICP, we dialed in the messaging, we dialed in the platform, all of a sudden it was just kind of off to the races.
Oh, dude, super powerful. Mate, what specific feature did you like most about working together?
I think there's just a clear kind of process, order of operations of like, this is what we need to get done. Like, first you need to get your like profile dialed in. You need to make sure that when people land on it, they understand what you're about. And here's how to do that. Here's how to make it look good. Here's how to get your header, your headline, your about section. Once you do that, then here's how to start posting content. And here's how to think about it. And here's how to track metrics to see like, are you being successful? For me, those were kind of the big pieces of the unlock, was how to think about that. And there's obviously a lot more, but I think the biggest thing was those early days of just, if you don't do the foundational pieces right, you can't succeed. You can have all the fancy pixels on your website and email list, but if no one's on your email list, it's not going to matter. If no one's going to your website, the pixel doesn't do anything. If you're trying to run ads, but you don't know who your ICP is, the ads aren't going to work. So like, if you don't have the basics down where it's like, hey, this is who I am. This is who I help. This is the tagline that's going to catch your attention. And then this is my about section. When you read it and you're like, oh, that's me. I should reach out to this guy. If you don't get that right, you can be successful. And so I think for me, it was understanding first principles and understanding that foundation that we were able to build on, and understand once I got that done, then it was just like a testing, iterating, testing again, refining. And to me, that's the fun part. But I can't test and refine and iterate unless I actually have the foundation stuff right. So I'm not worried about it because it's just operating perfectly in the background.
Yeah. Dude, powerful. Foundations are very, very powerful, especially if you get your messaging and, like you mentioned, dude, you get all those elements in place so you can grow and optimize and take it to the next level like you have. Mate,
That really is.
why would you recommend other coaches and consultants join?
I mean, the truth is I'm a coach and consultant, and I tell people to come work with me because I'm an expert at what I do. And it's the same analysis. You can look at what I've done. It's been really, really successful. So why would I say? I mean, just look at what has changed in my profile. Look at what has changed in terms of my expertise on the platform and how people view me. I think examples are the best way to show it. So like, what would I tell them? I tell them to go look at where I was go look at my post back in November and look at where they are today. Go and look at the quality of comments. Go and look at my following. Go and look at who's following me. Go and look at the people who are tagging me now on posts, people who are sharing posts that are completely about me, even though they've never met me. They've never worked with me. They've never done anything. Go and read my DMs where it's just people saying, thank you so much for this. I was able to raise this amount. I've been able to do this. You've changed, like you inspire me. This is a tough journey. You've helped. Like those are the moments where it's like, that's what we do all this for. If you're a coach, a consultant, you care about changing lives. And if you care about changing lives, then all you have to do is go and look at what people are saying on my stuff and look at the growth. And you're going to realize that what we've been able to achieve with my profile and performative speaking, what we're doing is we are changing lives and changing lives on a mass scale. When you can do that, that's what coaches and consultants should be about. Not all of them are. Some of them don't do what they're supposed to. But if you are about that and you're that type of coach and consultant, then it's a no-brainer.
Boom. Super powerful, dude. It's all those things that you mentioned, dude, that, you know, sometimes I don't even think about, but it's the impact that you are having to your audience that matters most. Dude, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
It just, I mean, honestly, it's really easy to work with you, Adrian. Like you show up, you're always professional. You take care of business. You have all the things, you're prepared, from a coaching perspective, like you care about the clients, you care about the people you work with. I can't say that about all the coaches that I've worked with. A lot of the people in this industry are truly scam artists. And that is not what you're about. And I think that shines through. And that's why clients do get results, because you do care, you do put in the work, you show up, you make sure they show up, you hold them accountable, you don't let them, back down. I've certainly not always done exactly what you've wanted, and you've stayed on me and been strict and said, you need to get this done. And as a result, we are. So I think from my perspective, the big thing is just, it's really easy to work with you and get the results if you're willing to put in the time and effort, right? Like if I don't put in the work, nothing you do is going to matter. So I think as long as the person is willing to put in some work and listen to your advice, they're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, dude. Appreciate it, brother. Robbie, where can people find you? Where's the best place for them?
Easiest place is going to be on the LinkedIn, right? That's where we're at. So here we are. Sorry, look, just DMs, always DMs. But here you go. Yeah, I mean, you can jump on here and find me, and this is all thanks to you.
Dude, I love your journey from retired trial lawyer.
Yep. I need to actually update this because we hit 185 million and we're about to cross 200, and then it should be 215 in the coming week. So I need to update the banner. I just haven't done that yet because it's much more challenging to update than is the headline.
Dude, and by the way, we've got a little new add-on there, a new feature from LinkedIn, which is a little button that goes under your headline, which leads to your website. So we'll have to update that one too, dude.
So there we go.
Robbie, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. I'm super excited for what's to come for you. This is just the beginning, as I like to say. But dude, thanks so much. And I look forward to speaking to you soon, man.
Sounds great, Adrian.
Cheers, buddy.